So now today's program on reading and reacting to emotions in your buyer's face. This is a critical new skill that sales pros can now adopt. It's information age stuff. We all need to use this. And Dan is partnering with an Oscar-winning animator from Lord of the Rings, as well as a scriptwriter from Call of Duty. Check this out. He's producing a video game that's going to teach world-class selling skills to people just like you guys. So you can play it at home on your Xbox. What's cooler than that? Now, who is Dan Seidman? Well, he's a lot of things, really. He's first the 2013 recipient of the International Sales Training Leader of the Year Award. Not too shabby. #1 best-selling author of 6 books, including the 544-page Encyclopedia of Best Practices, something called the Ultimate Guide to Sales Training. Now, because Dan has designed the global sales training program for the 40,000-member Association for Talent Development, he's also been called the trainer to the world's sales trainers. Dan is also a world's master athlete. Check this out, 3 gold medals playing with the U.S. basketball team. The world's master games are, in essence, the Olympic sports for athletes over 35. Also of note, his name was on the cover of the Wall Street Journal just last week. It was the mailing label, but it was still on the cover. So get ready to have some fun, and we apologize if you happen to learn something along the way. Let's welcome Mr. Dan Seidman. There he is, Big Dan.
Hey, Paul, great choice of a hotel, man. The towels here are so thick and fluffy, I could hardly close my suitcase. All right, so here's what's going to happen today. Well, first I want to ask you, what's your definition of success? You know, what's your everybody's got something different. It might be trying to maybe upgrade your car or your house, or maybe going somewhere special. Something defines your next level of success. So here's an experience I had that to me was my next level. And in the end, it became a very humbling moment, too, because of something that happened. So I'm asked to speak and do training in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Old school communist country. I get off the plane, they hand me a smartphone and say, you can make all your phone calls even back home on this phone. Yeah, right. I had an escort with me all the time whose husband was a Communist Party leader, so old school. But they love America and they love our entrepreneurial ideas. So I was in for a week to do training with their business pros and their sales pros and entrepreneurs. It was a really, really amazing experience. I check into this 5-star hotel after flying first class, and a woman comes up and says, "Oh, Mr. Dan, you're very famous." What are you talking about? Takes me outside, points down the street. Here it is. There's banners lining the business district of Ho Chi Minh City with my picture on it. I had no idea. It was a great moment for me until I sat in the club lounge that evening and was listening to a very well-dressed businessman Skyping his wife, kind of half listening to the conversation, and her voice suddenly goes up and she goes, "Oh, honey, I was kind of in a hurry to go shopping today, so I took the helicopter." Took the helicopter. Yeah. My momentary success paled in comparison. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm not going to do a lot of talking. You're going to do some work because this is going to be an interactive experience where you're going to learn about microexpressions. You'll get familiar with it as we go along, but here's basically what we're going to do. We're going to use some psychological models to evaluate what a person is feeling. We're going to read these microexpressions, which occur in a fifth of a second on their face. And then we're going to connect it all to your work. Connect all that to your work. Here's a bit on the microexpressions. Dr. Paul Ekman did some travels several decades ago around the world and noticed that everybody had these basic expressions on their face that represent these emotions. So you see the picture of the kid there showing disgust. He doesn't want to eat his broccoli. Ekman's picture of this man from the Foray tribe and indigenous people in Papua New Guinea showed the exact same expression of disgust. We're going to learn about these 7 emotions, and we're going to be able to identify them in people's faces. And like anything, when you get good at something, there's going to be some awkward and frustrating moments for you. So I'm just promising you that right now. Really, really cool stuff. So here's what's going to happen. It says pre-test on your sheet of paper right in front of you. On your sheet of paper, you have the listings of the 7 emotions. Have a look at that. Because you're going to watch 14 faces, and in a fifth of a second, you're going to see what emotion that person is expressing. There's different people. And you're going to write down what you think you saw. So, in a moment, I'll have our video guy started, but do not blink. Pay close attention, because it's going to happen so fast you do not want to miss it. Chase, on the video, hit it, man. Watch closely. Okay. How do you think it did? Yeah, of course. So I'm going to read you the answers so you can score yourself and see how many you got right out of 14. These are the Glengarry Leads, and you don't get them. So who got more than 8 right? Good, good. Anybody 10? Anybody get 12? You did? You got 12? Anybody get 13? Nobody had 13. 12, okay. I'm going to give, you had your hand up first, so I'm going to give you a special gift. You saw my sales comic book, and I have a T-shirt that you can wear that has the cover of the comic book. It says, how many salespeople work for you? About half of them. Okay, so I'm gonna send this over so you can covet it. I'm going to ask you to pass it along so everybody can covet it on the way there. And you other people that had 12, come and find me later. I have a little book on language skills, Secret Language of Influence summary booklet on language skills. Let's talk about Paul Ekman a little bit. So this is his seminal book, Emotions Revealed, and his definition of emotions. How do we respond to a situation without thinking? He believes that this is evolutionary, which is why people from all over the world show the same expressions. But he does a lot of work with law enforcement. And I found this out when I read about him in Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink. Did anybody read Blink by Gladwell? Fantastic book. Anything he writes is magical. And I called the Ekman organization 10 years ago and said, I want to develop this as a 500-level sales training program. I think salespeople that can learn to identify the emotions really going on in their buyer's head would be a very powerful thing to do. They were too busy. I continued to call them for 8 years, on and off every year, and they were training TSA, Interpol, CIA. They started training air marshals in Romania, and it was so successful with identifying people of interest, people that were going to be a problem, that now everybody in Europe sends their air marshals to air marshal training in the Romania headquarters for this form of training. So he's training all over the world. 2 years ago, he went, okay, we need to pay attention to the business applications. That's the basis of it. So you can read this book or go to their website, type Paul Ekman online. You also have on your handout there at the bottom of the second page, because we're going to do a post-test to see how much you've improved. And you'll see a link where you can go to that link and play with this a little bit more. Here's a question for you. What if we had this universal sign that reveals what people are really feeling? What I'd like you to do is if you just kind of turn in clusters of 4, 3 or 4, find somebody nearby you, and talk about this. What if we had a sign that revealed what they were feeling? What are the good things about that? And what would be some bad things that might occur? So take a minute just to talk about that. Think quick, move fast, and then I want to get some feedback from you. Let's hear some of your thoughts. What are some good things that can happen? Yeah, really understand where you stand with somebody. That's a good point. Thanks for contributing, making the first comment. Did you get enough to eat for breakfast this morning? You should say no. Okay. So I have these beef sticks, and they're like really unusual. This one's honey ham and pork, natural hardwood smoke. And then there's alligator. And this one's either pheasant or peasant. I'm not sure which one that is. Which one would you like? Nobody ever takes the peasant. Here you go. Back to work for you. Thank you. Pass that back there. Who else? What other things? Something good. Something good. You know what's going on in your wife's mind. That would be great. Yes? Right, so the ability to react to it, which is a really big deal. We'll talk about that a little bit at the end. It's going to depend on a lot of things. Sometimes you don't want to react. Sometimes you see something, maybe a person's lying outright and you just can't confront them, but you have to figure a way around it. And as sales pros, entrepreneurs, we encounter that a lot when somebody doesn't want to share why they won't buy from us or don't want to work with us. My tagline as a trainer is great sales pros can predict the future. They know what can happen, they know what will happen. We should never be surprised. Some problems with this. Who has an idea about some problems with this? Yes? Good, really good. Yeah, emotions are fleeting. So, and we'll actually talk about that in a little bit because there's one emotion that's defined by that fact. So we'll get into that too, of the 7 emotions. Anybody else on something that might be bad? And maybe you don't want to. Okay, thanks, Doug. How about you? Right. So sometimes people that are trained on the phone a lot are very sensitive and can pick things up. But yeah, it's difficult on the phone. Their high-level training that Ekman International does, they even catch it in profile, so they can detect emotions in profile. You'll see that right here as we talk about how they code the face. It's kind of a fun thing. Here's one problem. There might be an ethical breach because a person might be wanting to hide something from us. Do we have a right to know what they're trying to hide? So this is something that kind of gets into legalities and things like that. But let's look at how they code these faces. So you'll see there's codes for all different parts of the face. The lips, the nose might flare out, the eyes might rise up, the eyebrows and the eyelids are looked at separately. You might see crow's feet for somebody that's genuinely happy, like in a true smile. So this is where it's coded. Now let's look at the coding for each individual emotion that we're working on, and you get to practice it with like a neighbor. So you're going to look at people after we see it, practice it with a neighbor. Hey, guess what? When you learn something about yourself, because you're learning something about other people, that's a big deal. I realized that when I first had kids. You think it's about raising the kids, you find out more about yourself and your ability to deal with all that stuff that nobody can ever coach you or help you with than anything. So think about how this applies to you. Maybe your self-talk is creating emotional feelings that if you fix your self-talk, it might change your emotions, okay? So a little bit of a rabbit trail getting into that stuff, but here it is. So let's look at the first one. This is sadness, and you see a couple things, the mouth going down. Don't practice this right now because we don't want to put you in a state. And Matt might like hearing something like this too. The organization trains a lot of professional actors now. So people that want to, how do I get into a moment where my expression matches perfectly what my role and my language should be right now. So we're not going to mess with sadness because I don't want to put you in a sad state. So here's the definition, the emotion of this emotion. You lose something of value. You lose something of value. Here's our next one, anger. Anger. Kind of get those brows furrowed. Why don't you practice anger with somebody next to you real quick? Tell them if they got it right or not. Don't let those lips go up. I know you kind of want to laugh at this, but the lips don't go up in anger. All right? Got that moment nailed down? Definition of anger. This emotion says my goals are blocked. So you want to see a great expression of anger? Get in front of a little kid when they're crawling on the floor, or better yet, snatch a toy away from them and see what real anger looks like in the face of a kid. And they got nothing to hide, so it's going to be there long enough for you to pick it up. We just have to learn to pick it up in a fifth of a second. Okay, surprise. Surprise. This, you're alerted by something expected. This is what's known as a transitory emotion. Transitory emotion. You're surprised, and another emotion's about to follow. So here's what happens. Somebody gets up in your face on a crowded street somewhere, and you're kind of shocked by it, and all of a sudden they pull out a gun. Now fear shows up, right? You walk in your house, there's a loud noise, you're surprised, and you realize it's a surprise birthday party for you. So now you show happiness, because here's all your friends and family. And hopefully they bought you some good presents, right? Or good alcohol. Or happiness. cheek raise, lip corner, happiness. Practice happiness with somebody. Think of something that makes you really happy. When I want to be happy, I go to Hanauma Bay in Hawaii, a trip I made, and think about the time in the ocean, diving, snorkeling, everything. I get really, really happy. You can probably see it on my face right now. You experience something pleasurable. That's the definition of this emotion. Fear, a little bit like surprise. The mouth is stretched out. This is all science now. It's been studied for 40 years. We just are starting to get it. Fortunately, it took a long time to get into the business world. Let's say you're a meerkat. We'll pick you. You don't look like a meerkat. I just saw you looking around at people a minute ago. So you're a meerkat and I'm a meerkat, and you look over my shoulder and you see a tiger or a jaguar, which is a British tiger, and you show an expression of surprise and then fear, and you take off. I don't even have to look back there. That's a cue to me to go like, oop, I'm following, I'm out of here too. There's something not good happening back here, and I'm out of here too. So these serve a purpose. These serve a purpose. Thanks for being my meerkat by way of an example. Contempt. Usually one of the corners of the lips goes up. This is why it's one of the easiest ones to pick up in a fifth of a second. I need a vote from everybody here. I'm going to explain a video clip that I've been told I couldn't use by my wife, who does training all over the world too, and she looks over my shoulder and goes, you can't use that video clip. Hangover Part 3, anybody see it? Okay, so the opening scene was Zach Galifianakis. He's driving down the freeway. You're in Newport Beach. If you recognize the Jamboree exit, you're a great place to be, Newport Beach. He's towing a giraffe, and he gets to a bridge that's a little bit too low. It's really, really funny. And next thing you know, the giraffe's head is tumbling, cut off from his neck, tumbling through the air and buries itself in the window of a car that's going, oh, look at giraffe, behind people. And they slam on their brakes. People behind them slam on their brakes, and there's this huge crash. An 18-wheeler slides sideways, and all these steel pipes roll out onto the highway. It's a spectacular scene. And Zach doesn't know what's going on. He just pulls to a stop when he hears all the noise and looks back, and he's got this idiots, what. So it's a perfect example of contempt. And my wife said, you can't do that because that poor giraffe. So who says, show the video next time? Who says, but it's a beautiful giraffe? Okay, gosh, I'm going to show the video. Thanks. You're a big giraffe fan, huh? Oh, yeah, right. I actually asked people what their hobbies or backgrounds were, and I actually trained a salesperson that was a giraffe keeper at a zoo and wasn't making any money, and she ended up in sales. It was pretty interesting. Yeah, I had some really interesting conversations with her, too. So that's contempt. So you experience moral superiority. Moral superiority. This is not a good thing if somebody you care about, a spouse or somebody you're very close to, significant other, you see this a few times from them and you have a serious problem. Your relationship is in trouble. If you see this is way worse than somebody rolling their eyes, because rolling their eyes can be playful. This is contempt. And you need to have a couple conversations or a counseling session or something like that. So, contempt. Disgust. Okay, so you don't have to practice disgust. I'll tell you where disgust comes from. Just picture yourself with a cup that you're about to drink that's full of somebody else's vomit. Way to go, Wade. We got you all on video. I've always wanted to get that on video, so thanks for contributing my next presentation. So disgust. You face something offensive. So the nose crinkles up and the lip goes up. Maybe we're trying to plug our nose with our lip coming up to it, but that's disgust, something offensive. What professions do you think would find this of high value? We'd love to use it ourselves. What other kind of professions do you think would find this of high value? Security, for sure, yeah. What else? Law. Yeah, wouldn't you, as a judge or an attorney, right? Love to know that. Fantastic answer, yeah. Oh, right, yeah. like even if you're in an HR role and you're hiring and interviewing people, obviously it would be a tremendous benefit. Physician? Yeah, yeah. People doing, maybe you gave somebody some bad news. How are they really responding to it? You know, stiff upper lip and all that, the Brits. Maybe that's something got hidden before they threw out the, like, oh, I'll be fine, right? I'll tough this out. What's that? Counseling, big time counseling. They're doing a lot of work with counselors. Yes? Food? For tasting and all that? I guess that would be. Yeah, I guess if you're doing like surveys or testing food and stuff, that would kind of give you an idea. What's that? A jury. Yeah, it would be good if people really knew. I don't know if they would disqualify you from being on a jury or not, but if you want to get out of jury, that might be another thing. That might be the thing to say, yeah, you were at this training. Okay, I'm helping you out with that one, right? That was a gift. Here's another thing. There's a group in England where this company is based, and this caught my attention because of my background playing basketball. They're doing research on attack intent for high-level athletes, for basketball players. So somebody has a basketball in their hand, and they still have their dribble, and they can either attack you, put the ball on the ground, or shoot it, and you can kind of read in their face what they're about to do. I'll tell you what, if I was a trainer and I was teaching that, you would make ungodly amounts of money teaching that to athletes. And here's why in that sport in particular. Basketball, you normally have a big guy, somebody that's a really good rebounder. You have the smart guys, the point guard, he's out there. Usually have a hustler type of player. And everybody can shoot at some level. The favorite player for a coach, when I've coached, I need a lockdown defender. I need the best defender in the league because I need to shut down their best player every single game. Whoever it is, I need somebody to shut down their best player. I'll get my shots, and I'm smarter than the other coach. I'm going to get my shots through my offense and stuff, but I got to worry about that one guy. And so to have somebody that's brilliant with this stuff, and so I'm getting all the research on it right now from this organization that's teaching it for sports. The one area that's been used in a big way is in movie making. So here's one of my two business partners, Remington Scott, Academy Award for Visual Effects for Lord of the Rings. So this is pretty interesting. He took Ekman's stuff and he digitized skins of these creatures. We'll see a video clip of Avatar in a minute. And so the skins, the digital part of them, is sitting on top of the actor's face. And so he studied the emotions and used the coding to make sure that we have all the right facial movements to match the emotion. Really, really cool thing. The other partner is John McGinnis, who is a scriptwriter for Call of Duty, the most popular video game in the world. It's a $4 billion franchise. The new release of Call of Duty, they run about $30 million for the company to design it. So they're going to spend $30 million to release this game. They make $50 million the first day that it releases. That's a quick return on your investment, right? So this is the guy that scripted one of the games. So together, the three of us are taking my body of work, and we're trying to talk to design partners, which are companies that would say, like, hey, customize my sales training to create the video game, that sort of thing right now. So this is an area, Hollywood and entertainment is a big area right now. So what we're going to do here is we're going to watch a video clip of Avatar, and let's see if you can pick up any of the emotions. What'd you pick up? Anger, fear, sadness. Did you get contempt there? Yeah, that's her old boyfriend. Yeah, contempt. Yeah, good. So you're getting better picking it up. So this movie was a huge hit. Pixar, Inside Out. Did everybody see this movie? If you haven't seen it, it's one of those great films. And Pixar does this masterfully where it's got tons of adult humor as well as good stuff for kids. They hired an Ekman person to work on true animation and making sure that the coding on these faces were better. So you're seeing a trend in Hollywood now. So Spider-Man 2 had this. There's a whole bunch of movies now that are using this. Here's where Remington won his Academy Award. It was with his work developing Gollum. That's basically the reason he won the Visual Effects Academy Award. Andy Serkis, who's also was Caesar in the most recent Planet of the Apes film, his facial expressions are fantastic. So I've seen a lot of video of him doing work, and he's the guy, and that's what he looks like. as Gollum there on the right. Gollum is this tormented character that has all these wild swings of emotion and feelings, and so is a perfect character for him to win an award with because he did a fantastic job in that. So we're ready for your next test. Now, who had at least 10? Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. 12? Big time numbers. Okay. 13? Sweet. Anybody get 14? All right. You had 13? That's fantastic. I'm going to give you a T-shirt. So who had improvements? Who had significant improvements? Yeah, it's a big deal. So like anything, if you practice, you're not going to need the 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell suggests nowadays. Here's a bonus emotion. Let's see how quick you get this. Let's see who the first person to get this is. Ready? Who said blue steel? Yeah, he got it. Okay. Fox went to Dr. Ekman and said, we want to create a show, which is called Lie to Me. Has anybody seen the show Lie to Me? It's a really, really good show. Only lasted about 3 seasons. And Tim Roth is fantastic in it as Dr. Cal Lightman, which is the Paul Ekman character. And so what we have here is the opening scene from the first episode of the first season. And the reason I play this is because sometimes people are intentionally trying to hide. And so now you have a truth-telling issue instead of just like a counseling discovery thing where we're trying to figure out what's really going on with this person. It's a truth-telling issue. So let's watch this and have some fun watching this. Go ahead, Chase. Some of the benefits of reading emotions. We can spot when they're concealed. Like I said before, you might not want to address it. You might want to let it go. We improve our own emotional intelligence through seeing others and having a better awareness of ourselves. Actually, the theme of the Zach Galifianakis character in all the Hangovers is he has no self-awareness. So in contrast, we're telling you something like this can really elevate you understanding who you are. Enhance relationships. They've done research on this. People who understand emotions in others are more empathetic, has significantly better working relationships. The research was done in a work environment than people who aren't as empathetic or not recognizing emotions. Of course, we're going to increase our empathy because we really know what's going on. And then we better understand other cultures. So for those of you that travel internationally, this might give you a little added ammunition for conversations with people that you're struggling with the language or things like that. We can use this in our profession by addressing what I call the elephant in the room, right? Salespeople that are afraid to address the elephant in the room, whatever it happens to be, are going to have trouble. You have to be bold, especially if the sale is close to being lost, you have to be risky. I did an article for Insurance Newsnet magazine recently, maybe it was a year or so ago, called Stupid Pet Tricks for Sales Pros, and it was about bold techniques. It was 8 different techniques to use if you think you're close to losing the sale. So maybe, Paul, we can get that to everybody. That'd be kind of a cool thing for you to have as an example of this. But you have to address the elephant in the room. So if somebody shows some form of contempt, then maybe you have to say, is there something that bothers you about our relationship or what I'm talking to you about or our offerings? Something that bothers you. So make a vague statement and see if they'll express a little bit more, right? We learn to dig deeper as sales pros. The great sales pros just keep asking more and more layers of questions so we can get to the real truth. So the cool thing about this whole experience for me is I grew up as in sales training, never got any listening skills. And so I spent a lot of time, my big book has listening skills training. And what we need to know now is it isn't just listening skills, it's just plain paying attention, looking at the face and really paying attention. So what I'd like you to think about is how do we create emotional context to your sales calls? How do we recognize it? One quick story, I was training Blue Cross Blue Shield in Chicago for 3 years, and the 3rd year, the president said to me, can you do ride-alongs with the reps in order to see if they're applying what you've taught them in the classroom the last couple of years? Really cool experience for me. I had a big aha moment as I went out with each of these people. The first guy I went out with was a young guy, aggressive, great with numbers, really good salesperson, a little bit clinical type of personality, and we sat talking to an owner of multiple grocery stores in Chicago. And he used a question I taught him, which is called, the technique is called taking away the solution, where you would say to the person, hey, what if we just left things the way they were? What if you didn't switch your benefits package? So it's a good way to get people to kind of sell you themselves on what you're offering them. And so I was kind of happy that he used that. The man went off. Hell no, we're switching our insurance. My son's a baseball player at Marquette University, and we were tubing this winter, and he slid into a tree and chipped a tooth. About a week or so later, we went into the dentist, and with the x-rays, the dentist said, you have a couple hairline fractures on your jaw. You better get that fixed, go to this orthopedic guy, or you are going to have trouble the rest of your life chewing and eating food. Got the surgery taken care of. Insurance company rejects the claim because it was referred by a dentist. Now, they're going to pay it. We know they're going to pay it eventually. It's kind of a game, right? And so, but every day this guy's wife is calling him, are we getting the money? Did you talk to the broker? Where's our $8,000 we put out for this that the insurance should be reimbursing? So Eric, the sales rep, is sitting there while this guy's just ranting on and on. He finally runs out of gas, and Eric goes, oh, that's too bad. Let me ask you another question. I'm like, really? Totally missed it, dude. Totally missed it. So how do we create emotional context by asking good questions and recognize emotion in somebody's face? Let's just summarize here what I'd like you to do. The best learners teach others as soon as they adapt something new. So I would like you to think about somebody. It might be a spouse. It might be another entrepreneur or business or sales professional. It might be at a networking group you go to. Write down that person's name who you're going to talk to about this. Write their name down. So you commit to a next step where you're going to teach somebody about this and anchor your learning. They may ask you more questions which you can't answer. Maybe the two of you together will start digging into Ekman. Again, the catchphrase I used before, pay attention. It's more than just great listening skills. I found that all of us have somebody that's a great listener where we are tremendously guilty when we're around them because we know they're way better than us. So this is the next level. It's being somebody who pays attention and not just a good listener. And then there's your link. So my mission statement as a business professional and a consultant is to leave people in a better place, sound familiar, than you found them, really to be a blessing to people. And if I've left you in a better place than 45 minutes ago, then I did my job. So I appreciate your attention. I appreciate your expressing your frustration in a kind of a fun way. But I hope you learned something. And if you want to catch me on any more conversation about this, I'm here for you. Thank you very much.